It's going to be game changing for all the partners that partner with us and all the agents that want to come work with us. But today we're just going to be going from where we came from, Griffin and myself, where we came from, what we've been through, the trials, the mistakes, the failures that we've had with Final Expense, how to overcome them, and then, hey, what are some tips, tricks that we have right now in today's current market with Final Expense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Griffin, you start us off. Where'd you come from? I know, obviously I know, but
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, so there's been a few different like jobs that I've had, you know, they were all face to face. And then eventually I realized like, how can I increase my income earning potential? Is it going to be in a retail store, whether it be telecommunications? Do I need to go work at a car dealership? Do I need to go sell sales training? Like, what should I do? Like, where am I going to put myself? So I found the insurance industry, and I was like, let's give this a shot. These guys are getting hit with inbound phone calls. They're getting people opting in. And then what's really ironic, and it really throws new agents off when they hear like, I didn't fill anything out or I didn't request anything, and they start to think like, am I getting fake leads, or is this real? But what you realize, it's like if you've worked in a store before, someone walks in, they're like, can I help you find something? They're like, I'm just looking. This is the universal thing that gets said, no matter what state you're in, doesn't matter where you grew up, what time period. And most of the time that person's telling the truth. They are just looking, but they probably came in for something specific. What was it? So it's the same thing with these life insurance leads. These people fill out a form on Facebook, they mail in a card through the direct mail, and then they tell you the same thing, like did you ever knock a door when you had their handwriting in your hand, like on the thing?
That wasn't me.
I didn't do that. They slam the door. So if you
But it's your handwriting.
it's like, I can't, this looks real, like, is this not yours? Like, I'm gonna go check your mail. No, but online it's like a Facebook lead, it's a direct mail lead, it's some sort of internet opt-in, and in some cases they even get called and verified, like, hey, what's your favorite color? You know, who do you want to leave the money to if you could? And so at that point, you know, it's really like I need agents that can have conversations with people, read some words on a piece of paper, which you can't do in the field, and then be able to say those words, but you have to be able to get comfortable navigating the sea of like things that people throw at you to throw you off your game. And you have to know when to disregard it and when to kind of go in on it. So I think on the phone it's a lot different, because like once you're in the home, I feel like, man, I got a real shot at this. But on the phone, it's like, if I can't get past the first 3 to 5 minutes, then I'm gonna get hung up on, or their phone could die, or the daughter barges into the living room and they say, who are you on the phone with? What are you doing? And, give me that phone. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you talking to my mother? Like, there's all these different weird random things that can happen, but I guess it really just comes down to the activity. Like, I remember you're notorious for buying lots of leads. You were somebody who like had a slower start, but came out the gate strong, like bought more leads than even people would recommend or is necessary. And then it gave you a good chance. Like you invested money, you had to spend a lot of money, you invested in an appointment setter. So I would say like where you came from is like almost the complete opposite of where I came from. It's like different places.
Because you were being, provided leads, right?
I was being given leads, and I was getting a lower comp for those leads, which when the leads are really good, like that's great. But then you always wonder, man, what if I was buying my own leads and I was making double, triple the comp? You know, how would that go? Like if I was at like 100, 115, 120, 125, but then you're spending 3, 4, 5 grand in a week on leads. So you're spending like 20,000, anywhere from like 12 to 20 grand in a week. In a month. In a month. So on the other side of it, it's like I'd rather just be able to sit down and make phone calls.
Because it's so much more of an added responsibility for agents, right? There's going to be seasoned agents that are out there that can handle it, right?
Yeah.
They have the control over it, and they've done it, right? They've done it before. Whereas like a lot of newer agents, man, they need that help. They need, leads given to them, provided for free, and they need some type of like early hand-holding to get them through anything that they might run through. Because for me, it was tough, right? I was by myself, like a lot of agents that might be watching this are, by themselves, no mentor, no coaching, no guidance, no direction. They're just out there. Yeah, go buy leads and talk to people. That's what I was told to do. And it works. However, like only for a select few. Sure. So one of the biggest things that I've seen individuals run into, including myself, is like we let the own thoughts in our head get in the way of us progressing, us getting results, and us, hey, even closing deals, right? The client says something like, why are you calling me now? Like, then you start to think, oh, why am I calling her now? And then you have this thought that it originated from the client, but now you're making it true and real for some reason, right? And now that's your operating basis moving forward. You're like, oh, I called that client at that one time. Why would I call them again? Why would I call a client at 7 p.m. again, or call a client at 8 a.m.? Oh, that's way too early, right? Client said it's too early. Why are you calling me this early? Right? Mm-hmm. So agents that are first getting started, the best thing that I could tell them is really like disregard all the noise, all the distractions. We were just talking about this in a course that you just shot for our partners here at LC Finance Group. Is like disregard all the noise, the distractions, and any doubt that even you bring into yourself, clients bring into you. Maybe it's other agents. It could be other agents that are out there that are feeding you doubt, negativity, right? Giving you the wrong data that you put in the wrong data, it's going to give you the wrong result, right? So just getting past that, right? Client says something, hey, it's not personal. Don't take it personal, right? You think something, oh man, these people aren't buying. All other agents are thinking that. If you could just get past that potential mental roadblock that you're putting into yourself, if you could get past it, you're going to be, well off than most other agents out there.
That's true.
Yeah. So it's really, man, it's really diving into like, man, what can we do for agents that can help them jumpstart quicker than they've ever seen?
Yeah. I think also when you're new, like you're at a point where you haven't put too much time into this, but you've put just enough time where you really do want to make it work because you did get your license. Like, I'm not really talking to somebody who's not licensed, but hey, if you're not licensed yet and you want to get licensed, do it. But I would just say, like, if you're starting out, you've invested probably a couple months, 2 or 3 months, or 2 or 3 long weeks, and you're like, man, I want to get a sale, like I want to get my money back, like on my investment. So this is like the moment where you have the time to make it. I think if most people are going to fail, it's probably, man, I've seen it like take 6 months. I've seen it take a year for people to fail, but really it could happen in 3 weeks. And you're like, man, nah, I'm just going to go get a job somewhere. Like I'm just going to go get, the hourly. Hey, and if they have hourly plus commission, even better, because I know my bills are paid. And so with this, you get paid better than most commission jobs. However, you get to control your schedule. You also have the ability to, it's really all on you to that degree of like it's commission only, it's 1099. So for me, I had several really good W-2 plus commission jobs. And I was like, man, if I was commission only, it would be scary, but life insurance became my first like 1099 commission only, eat what you kill type of thing. And so it was scary at first. And it took me some time to close my first deal. I know everyone's a little different. Also, the training that you get and the support that you get is different. It's harder, I would say, face-to-face to get started. because you're kind of in the home by yourself. You could call somebody like while you're in the home and get some help, but then they become a telesales agent and they're basically trying to close the client over the phone for you while you're in a home, which it could happen. However, not always gonna happen, because you might be like, what if they don't answer? Like, what if they're on the call with another agent or they just can't answer their phone? You're in the home, you're by yourself, you don't feel like you can close it. Telesales, you have that advantage. So there is like some advantages and disadvantages to both. I think if I'm in front of somebody, way better chance of closing. But are they actually going to answer the door? Can you actually get into the home?
Mm-hmm.
How many people can you see in a day? You know, so I like telesales because I can get in front of a lot of people. I can get a lot of reps, more conversations, more practice. You got to be tighter. You got to be quicker in a way, because it's easy to hang up a phone. It's harder to slam a door in somebody's face, from what I hear. So it's actually easier to get people started in the field with free leads. Figure it out. If you want to go independent later, go independent. Like, use our free leads, take the lower comp, and then if you want to go higher comp, buy your own leads in the future, by all means. But I think there's only 3 things, John Wetmore talks about this, that people fail. It's training, it's leads, and it's work. And if they are not being successful in any of those areas, or any area in the business, then their idea is skewed. They have a distorted, false reality or perception of what it actually takes to be successful. So maybe we should go back for a moment.
Like an incorrect estimation of effort.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's funny that, and I don't want to cut you off, but it's funny that you are segueing into this. I'm thinking like, yeah, training, of course, but what goes before all of this? It's that foundation, the structure, right? The attitude, the viewpoint, the mindset, the level of activity that it's going to take, the level of obstacles it's going to take to get to where you want to be, right? You can't grow something off of a faulty structure. So what are we talking about? Like what do we have to dive into as far as structure? Attitude, obviously.
Yeah, you got to have the right mindset. You've got to have targets and goals, which are going to fuel your mindset, because anybody, it doesn't matter who you are. If you go a few days without making some sales, then the attitude and the confidence can drop. And sometimes when you hear it, it's easy to hear it from the outside, but when you're actually in that and you feel it in that moment, and if you're thinking about a tough time you've had right now, then you know what I'm talking about, especially in sales, where you're like, man, I need to change jobs, like I need to quit, I need to give up. So I encourage everybody to like stay in it. You got to make a commitment, like give it at least 30 days. If you can make it to 30, go 90. If you can make it to 90, go 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then just do it in 90-day increments. And then once you're at the year mark, you're like, man, now you need to be thinking like, can I go to year 2, year 3? And really just build up that income, that book of business, that client base. Maybe you add on Medicare, the ability to sell Medicare in the 2nd year, 3rd year. Do it with your existing clients. If they want your help them. If there's people that come along. I've had people where they're like, I thought you guys were Medicare. I really need help with my Medicare. And I used to have to say, sorry, I don't do that. Even though I was licensed as a health agent, wasn't allowed to do that. Now I have people that call me like, man, I need you to help me with my Medicare. They still do that. So that's useful, because once you get really good at life insurance, your final expense, you can add that on. But again, going back to what you're saying, I got off of it a little bit, is the foundation. The foundation and the mindset and the training. So every single day, to stay in that, keep that fire going, is you got to train. You've got to work at it daily, the same way you would as a basketball player. You know, you want to have a 98% free shot, maybe 100%. Like, that's not something that just comes. You have to actually work on it every single day. And then also, like a 3-point shooter, you know, a football player, they're working on their technique and they're reviewing their game film every single day. One of my favorite shows on Netflix right now, which I will tell you, I cannot stop watching it. Like, there's a few things I like, and I just go all in on it. And it's the quarterback series with Peyton Manning as like the executive producer and director. and the receiver one that's out. And pretty soon they're probably going to come out with like a running back one. But man, it's absolutely incredible because you get to see what the top 1% of like the top 1%. Because like if you look at it, like probably 1% of high school players go play college, and probably 1% of college players make it to the NFL and NBA or anything. And so to see what they do at that level, you can tell it wasn't just their body that got them there. They had to have that mind, that body. All of us can speak, and all of us can control the way we speak, so we can always change that. And I think it will help you in these other areas of your life if you can commit to being great at this. Because even if you say, you know what, screw life insurance, I don't want to be an agent, I don't want to do sales, you still got to talk to people. You got to talk to your kids, you got to talk to your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister about something. You know, you might have a loss. You might have somebody who gets a drug addiction. You know, how are you going to be able to help that person and move them? Or when you go to a restaurant or you do anything, you know, to get your way in life, like you have to communicate. So I saw this as an opportunity to help your everyday, average, ordinary American get help with something that's difficult, can be a little emotional, it's a little uncomfortable, it's not attractive to talk about. If I'm talking to the general public, they're not attracted. No one wants to be an agent. Nobody wants to sell. Nobody wants to have to talk to somebody and actually reach out to them, even though they requested the information. They still are like, oh, I didn't fill that out, or oh, now's not a good time. Oh, I already have that taken care of. Like, it's just a conversation. And you have to be able to push a little bit. And I think this is probably one of the best areas you can go to become a master of communication and give you something that you can work on every single day. That was a very long response and answer to what you said. So going back to the foundation, anything else you wanted to say on the foundation?
I'm thinking back to when I first started, right? Like, what can I provide the viewers right now? What value can I give them? I'm thinking back to when I first started, right? It took me 7 times to pass my test, 7 times to pass my insurance test, about 2 or 3 months to make my first sale. So it's not necessarily, as we all know, what you go through, but it's how you handle what you go through. That's going to be the biggest determining factor. So thinking about it in terms of sales and in terms of insurance, right? You're going to get a lot of no's. Okay, great. All those no's are going to lead you closer to a yes. So what you want to see is like, what are the things that I'm getting upset about, or what are the things that I don't fully understand, and how can I dive into it a little bit more to figure out why am I getting upset? Or what do I not understand, right? And being able to get yourself from brand new to just maybe even a year in, like you were speaking about, Griffin, it's just day by day progression, day by day development, training, attitude, viewpoint, mindset, surrounding yourself with the right people. And as long as you can get to, even if it's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, as long as you can get to those increments, you will create success no matter what. It almost boils down to like how long you can just stick in the game.
Yeah.
How long you can just stick in the game, continue to get knocked over, and continue to put your all into it with a positive attitude, positive communication, as you were just touching on, and being able to just understand people, understand how this other individual that I'm communicating with is, why are they saying what they're saying? Or why are they responding the way they are? Or why are they having these outbursts or reactions, right? Being able to dive into that and just being able to see it from the customer's lens, from the client's viewpoint, right? And putting yourself in their shoes. It's really going to help you tremendously get through the first 6 to 12 months, which are going to be the hardest. They're going to be the hardest. It was for me, could have been for you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we're looking to change, though, is really getting an agent within their first I'd say about a month, maybe 2 months at the longest, about 8 weeks, give or take. How do we get them from brand new to writing business, whether it's 5K a week, 10,000 a week, and equipping them with the tools that we didn't have, all the tools that we didn't have, all the knowledge that we didn't have, and giving it to them.
That's right.
And then it's really up to them, right? So that dives into the responsibility level of, holding yourself responsible to, I started this, let me make sure I succeed through this. Holding yourself responsible to, I'm buying leads or I'm getting these leads for free, let me make sure that I actually get a good conversion on them. Or let me make sure that I'm actually putting the most amount of work that I can put into these leads and not just quitting because I'm getting these responses from clients, or I'm getting, some doubt thrown to me from a family member or a work associate, right? Those are the common things that you're going to run into. It's going to be tough. I came home many times just crying. I was out there in North Carolina all by myself, just got into the insurance industry, didn't know what I was doing, no communication skills, no sales skills. And I come home just like, man, what am I doing? What did I get myself into? Right? And those are the thoughts that every new agent, whether you've been in sales before or not, you're going to have those thoughts, right? And it's just really getting past all the doubt, all the noise, all the distraction, and being able to just stick in there. Being able to see where you're going, even if it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're able to see it. You're able to paint a picture, almost a portrait of where you're going. You're able to just be like, man, I'm going to get there someday, right? So that foundation is what it helped me the most. Because if I didn't have the foundation of the attitude, the viewpoint, how to really just handle life to a degree and handle myself, if I didn't have that viewpoint and that foundation, there's no way I would have gotten through my first 6 to 12 months. Yeah. It would have been impossible.
Yeah. There's actually so many things that I want to touch on that you mentioned that I probably won't remember them all because there was such good stuff there. But what I will say is I absolutely agree with everything that you said, and it's absolutely true, first and foremost.
Let me stop you there. Don't lose that thought. Acknowledgements. We'll dive into this later, but you guys got to acknowledge clients.
That's right.
Acknowledge them.
It feels good to be acknowledged.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can also tell when you acknowledge, when you don't acknowledge, and you'll notice it later, which is just really a stop in the communication. It is I heard you genuinely, not like the fake stuff, like, like the real, I got what you're saying. I really want you to know I heard you. And you can say it with okay, good, thank you. I heard you, and that makes sense. Those are acknowledgments, right? And then there's longer form acknowledgments, but those are the short versions. So that is key. As a salesperson, as anybody, you got to have that in. It's just a basic. And people don't think about it, and we do it naturally half the time without even thinking about it. But you want to be able to use it intentionally.
I was going to say intentionally.
Intentionally using it for certain purposes. But
back to what you were saying.
Personal development in the first 6 to 12 months, you have to work on yourself, and you have to work on what you're really trying to you have to work on your craft, you have to work on your mindset, and you have to work on yourself. And so there are courses that I've done on communication, there's books that I've read that I would recommend, and all these things are going to help lead you down the path to where you want to go, and help you kind of get there a little bit quicker, because you can learn from the mistakes of other people instead of just learning from your own mistakes. And so one of the things I did want to ask you that a lot of people probably want to know is most agents, when they start, a lot of them, especially if they're new, they're coming from something else. And so what's happening is they don't have any money. They're living paycheck to paycheck like most Americans are. And so when you completely uprooted your life from where you did live and you changed your environment, which is a great way to kind of make a fresh start. When you change that environment, how did you afford to live out there on your own when you were brand new to a new industry, a new job, a new area? How did you survive? Did you have a savings? Did your parents help you? no one probably has really talked to you about
Yeah.
this before because I've never heard the answer.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a great question. So yeah, I had probably around like 12, 13K saved up, literally just enough money for monthly rent, which was like 6 years ago, you know, $1,500 a month. Had nothing else in calculation. No calculation of, oh, this is what I'm gonna need to spend for leads or gas or food. Literally like 12 to 13K. And you know, it has me thinking, does a new agent need to have money set aside? Well, obviously, if they're going to be buying leads, but if they're going to get free leads, quit your job. Like, just do it. Just do it. If and the thing is, you can always go back to what you were doing. So if you have the belief that insurance can change your life, just do it. But yeah, had like 12, 13K saved up, ran through that so quickly. Because money just goes, right? It just goes. But if you want to have it, which I do recommend it, to have some type of cushion before you quit your job that you're currently in, right? Have maybe the next 2 to 3 months saved up of just being able to cover your monthly expenses. Because what happens there, and I'm sure you know this, Griffin, is your attention is going to be fully on your new career in insurance. You're not going to be thinking about money, the rent, the monthly expenses. You have that handled. You don't have to think about that anymore. You can get that out of your thoughts. Now you can put fully 100% of your attention and energy and effort on how do I become great at insurance sales? How do I master telesales? How do I master in the field, right? Whichever you choose. And how do I master this and expedite the process as well? Right? So diving into mastermind groups, connecting with like-minded individuals, something that unfortunately I didn't do, and that's why I had such a rough start. 3 months without sales, 7 times not passing my test because I didn't have anyone around me, didn't have a like-minded group. And something that, we've been doing within our community on our school platform that Benjamin Ange, one of our partners and founding partners of LC Finance Group, has created to bring together insurance agents, whether they're with us or not, just to feel like they're in a community, they're with someone, right? Me, when I started, I was like, man, I'm by myself. That's why I come home crying, like, I'm by myself in a brand new city, new environment, right? And it's just tough. It's tough. So, lastly, before I give it back to you, was like learning from other people's mistakes, not yours. You can learn from our mistakes. There's so many videos out there, so much content out there of what not to do. So you know what to do. And that's going to be one of the biggest changes right there.
Yeah. That's something that I've been seeking for a long time, was like knowledge, but then the right type of knowledge, because there's so much out there. You have to actually remove a lot of things instead of adding. So when you look to add a positive thing, there might be something that you also need to remove. And so I've really been like avidly seeking that for most of my life. Actually as a teenager, I started asking questions that was like, I want to know, and no one else is asking this. So if I have to travel to China or Japan or somewhere else, I will go there to find these answers. Now, we have YouTube and we have the internet, and that's another thing. It's like a blessing and a curse. But I would say the blessing is that there's a lot of successful people out there who you can know are genuinely successful because you've seen it in person, or of these people, like you see it and it's just undeniable, the success. But not just the success financially. We're talking about spiritually, with your work, with your family, and then wanting to be better in all of those areas, because those are you, not just one area. It's all of it, every bit of it, responsibility. And as you expand outward from yourself and your shelter and your food to your family, to your kids, to your job, to your church, to the future beyond this lifetime, and mankind as it stands today, like, we don't want World War III. Like, we want to see, how can I give back to the world to where your kids, your grandkids are in a position where they don't have 91% income tax or They don't have to go fight in World War III because they got drafted like some of our grandparents, you know, like my grandpa just missed World War II, Korean War, you know, like 100% disability from the military. Like, so we want to create a better life for our kids than we had growing up. So you can learn from the mistakes that we made so you don't have to repeat them. So for Ryan, I got to learn from other people, probably a little easier and faster. So like I didn't have the cushion that you had whenever I started in insurance. So I had to make money. It took me 8 days to close my first deal, but in our environment, that was very long, especially given that I had a background in sales coming into this thing with quite a bit of sales experience, but didn't close a deal for 8 full working days. But on that 8th day, and here's the cool part. This is actually what's really cool. I've brought people in who have had less sales experience than me. They're good at asking questions. They're good at talking enough to where they can close a deal on their first day, second day, or even third day. So I'm helping agents close deals faster than I closed a deal. And I've had 2 people this week. One closed a deal on their second day, and one closed a deal on their third day. It took me 8 days to make my first sale. And I was the hardest working one in the office, and I was getting 200, 300 dials a day, 4, 5, 6 hours of talk time before 5 p.m. And then, you know, I didn't have the cushion. I didn't have the protection. Didn't have any other money coming in, really, hardly at all. Had a lot of bills, a lot of debt that I had ran up on credit cards because I was in a position where, you know, just that really wasn't a good choice. I did spend a lot of money on training and courses and personal development to the point where I actually didn't even work at one point because I was spending so much time on that. I would never take back what I gained from it. I would probably make a wiser choice on, like, literally I would spend 12 to 16 hours a day sometimes working on myself after spending years in the workforce, and I racked it up on credit cards. So if I could do it a little differently, I wouldn't have gotten the results as quickly on the personal development side, but at least I wouldn't have had $120,000 in credit card debt that I ran up because I did do that. I also donated to some charities. Like, you know, I did some good things with that money. Definitely donated to charity with that money, which you would say, that's crazy. Why would you do that? But if you really want to make a difference and you really want to make an impact and you're making good money, you're like, well, sure, I'll put this towards a good cause, you know, essentially. But there's a way to have both. You don't have to go into debt to do what I did.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, you know, like, what if a person is like we have 2 different sides, right? As, you know, telesales field.
Yeah.
Didn't have money starting off, had a little bit of money. You know, I would, even if you don't have money, would you tell someone to just cut it? Like, maybe they have a job, barely any money saved off. Like,
It's your decision.
yeah, of course.
I would never actually encourage you to quit your job unless you felt like you were capped. So, like, I should have stayed in the job that I had and probably pushed it further before I moved out of state to do what you did, which is start a brand new life. Like, I moved to Florida. I wanted a brand new start. I wanted a new environment. I wanted new people. I wanted to expand in every area. And I just felt like I needed to travel out and experience that to do it. I had a really good job. My bills were very low. I had hardly any debt. And I was accelerating, and I was one of the top performers. I mean, I'll just tell it. I worked for Verizon Wireless. I sold in a cell phone store. I was making 10 to 12K a month. I had managers who would look at my paycheck and say, I need to go back into sales. And like, they were like, I need to go back into your position. And I was thinking, you can come back into my position if you want to, but I would still run circles around you. Like, that was I was like hungry. I read a book called The Problems at Work.
Yeah.
And that relit the fire I had. Like, when I was a kid, I was given awards for high school, junior, senior. I was given the award for, like, they give it to 1 or 2 people on the team for like the hardest working, most consistent person. I wasn't the most talented. I wasn't the best. I was pretty good, above average. You know, I ran like a 4.5 40. And, you know, like I went to state in powerlifting and track with a team. We nearly went to state in football. I played basketball. I never really like stellar at basketball, but you know, like I just did everything I could do to play sports all the time, all my life, but never really got great at anything. So sales came along. I'm like, okay, my body, I don't have to sacrifice my body. I don't have to lose my knees or get injuries or get head contusions and concussions and all these things that come with football to master something and be great at it, right? So you take that hard work, you put it into what you love and you care about, into something that's actually going to build a future for your family. Like if you're not going to play in the NFL, then why are you playing football? You know, if you're not going to be in the NFL, why are you devoting so much time to football? You know, are you a spectator or do you want to be in the game? You know, what kind of life are you trying to create? And if you're thinking, well, they'll figure it out and they'll, you know, like I want a world that's going to be here multiple lifetimes from now, not like what are your kids coming back to? Where are you going to be when you die? Like I think about that kind of stuff. I'm younger. I've been thinking about that for a long time. And so the decisions that I make are beyond this lifetime, which is kind of crazy for, you know, people to even hear or think about. But like, I would just have to say, like, if you have a good job, maximize that job. Like, make the most of it. If you're working at Walmart, it's probably going to be hard to make a lot of money. Now, general managers can make like 150 grand, you know, a year at a local Walmart that's in a small town, from what I've heard. I don't know. Sam's Club, Costco, general managers of a store are making probably $150,000, $200,000 a year. That's not horrible. It's better than 50. It's better than 100. So I would say maximize your potential where you're at. And if you want to go beyond that, then you need to go beyond that. If you're watching this and you're still watching this, then you're somebody who is already in the insurance industry and you're trying to be successful. You're contemplating whether you need to go do something different or you need to stay here. And we are completely different in how we started and what we did, but it all comes down to it's been years and we're still here. We're still pushing. You're still here. You're still building an organization with many agents. And for people to even hear what you've said, like they wouldn't even know that side of you if you didn't tell them. Because me knowing you, like I would never know those difficulties had you not kind of probably been more giving than other people I've seen about the failures and about the lack of skill or ability. A lot of people out there that run companies and organizations, I don't think that they really share how difficult it just actually was or what they went through. So we're pretty lucky to hear you say all that. And that we want to build a team around us of people and help them do what we went through faster than we had to.
Exactly.
Like, not have to suffer as much as we did in the beginning. So.
Yep. Instead of it taking 3 months, 4 months to get your first sale, or to start making consistent sales, it'll take 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's what we really want to boil it down to, is really just efficiency, getting people in, started, winning quick.
You can make a sale your first week.
Yeah,
but
your first week.
Now, look, what sucks is when you make a sale in your first 2 or 3 days, and then you don't get another one for like another week. That's hard. So leads, training, and work. Now, you think, well, I've been working hard, I'm not getting the results. You almost have to be a little crazy, almost a little bit insane, because you got to repeat that for another 2 or 3 weeks. And in that third week, because there's like a 3-week lag. I don't know why. I just know there's like a 3-week lag. That's just how it works. All the hard work you do right now will reflect truly in 3 weeks from now.
Yep.
It just repeats. So if you work hard for 21 days, you're giving yourselves like another 3 weeks. Even if you didn't hardly do much, you could almost actually cut the work in half, and you could live off of that last 3 weeks. but then your next 3 weeks are going to drop. So you have to keep it consistent for 3 weeks. And then 3 weeks from now, if you keep working that hard, you're going to get like double, triple quadruple the results. And then if you keep that going, then it just stays that way. And then you end up like you or me, where we get, I mean, in my first 6 months at a 52-year-old agency, I was number 8 in the company. And I did that because I had great leaders, such as yourself, who helped me in the beginning to make it where I wanted to go. They gave me leads, they gave me support, and you know, there was just a really nice environment and great people around. I did see a lot, the thing that we don't talk about, did see a lot of people come and go, because I was in an office. So every 90 days, brand new faces. Brand new faces. And the difference between me and some other agents were, when I got rejected, I went forward to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So maybe you can speak on some of the things that you've wanted to.
Yeah, you know, and I appreciate you sharing all that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the viewers do appreciate it as well. You know, I'm thinking back, you know, it's really, really, you know, the pivotal point for me, I was going to ask you the same question. Like, when I think back, like, what was the pivotal point where everything changed? For me, it was going into like serious, like deep training mode. At first, I was like 1 level deep and I wasn't getting results. I'm like, you know, I feel like I'm doing great. You know, I'm getting in the house, which is half the battle, as you talked about, getting the person on the phone or actually getting in the house if you're in the field. That's half the battle.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm talking to these people, but I'm not closing deals. Oh, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my daughter. All the smoke screen objections were coming out. I'm like, man, what is going on? Why am I not closing? And it got to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to dive into training. Because I only trained for like a little bit. I got trained by my upline, my mentor. And I was like, oh, I'm good, right? Could have been a little bit of ego that I had for myself, right? I think I can just learn something so quick and just run with it, right? And there could be agents out there like that. But it's like training. I did a deep dive into training. And that's immediately where everything changed. I took like a week off, right? Oh, a week off with no income, 2 weeks with no income. It's tough. But those 2 weeks that you take, sacrificing a little bit of time, could go from getting no to little results to more results or the results that you're looking for. So that was one of the biggest shifts. And then the second one was increasing the leads that I was getting, putting more pressure on myself and putting more on my plate than I could even think I could possibly handle.
Yeah.
Right? And that's going to expand your ability to handle more, control more, and to ultimately create more.
Yeah.
Yep. So really, this is training. It's training.
Yeah.
Every single day. And you know it as much as I do.
It's become so normal for me now that I realize that it's not normal now that we talk about it. It's really not normal for most people. I think a big thing I've noticed is athletes do really well. If you weren't an athlete, but you've always admired athletes, or maybe there's something similar to an athlete that you can mimic, like taking that level of work ethic and discipline. And honestly, I've seen this recently, is being able to fall in love with the boring thing. Imagine if you were like a lumberjack, or you were like a gold miner or a coal miner, or maybe a truck driver. I don't think that would be as bad because you're on the road, you're looking outward, but like there's lots of jobs that I'm like, man, you might look at that job and you're like, I could never do that. I just couldn't do it. Some people are like, I could never sit at a desk. I could not sit in a cubicle all day. Maybe that's you, you know, like you're a field agent. There's a beauty to it and there's a pain to it. There's a pain to everything. Pick your heart. So you stick and stay is bound to pay, and then pick your hard. It's going to be hard to do anything. What is it? What's going to be the hard for you? Like, are you going to make it hard by getting up at 5 a.m. and going to the gym? Or are you going to make it hard by training more? Because even though you don't feel like it, instead of listening to music or watching Game of Thrones on HBO Max, like, what are you going to do that's challenging yourself to be better? Training is like every single day for me. It's literally like brushing my teeth. So I don't really think about it like a big deal because it's become part of me. It's like, it's what I do. It's not who I was or what I did. I'm not reliving, like, I love football. Like, sometimes I like to think back to the memories I created or whatever, but you know that person who 10 years after you graduated, when you guys get together during the holidays, maybe, they're like still reliving. That was like the highlight of their life. And I was like, I'm never going to be that person. And there's nothing wrong with like talking about some old memories and enjoying it. But like every time for hours that you see that person, like that's what they would want to talk about. That's just like when you know, like, you've got to pick a new goal and set a goal that's out into the future. And you've got to like set targets, like, okay, what do I got to do to achieve that goal? Every single day you have to look at that. And I mean, we can make multiple videos on everything we're talking about, but we're trying to like bring it all into one video. But your goals and targets, your training will help you get to those goals and targets. It's a facilitator. It's a production capacity. So like you're going to work however many hours you're going to work, 8 to 12 hours a day. What are you going to be able to accomplish during that time? Like, you can be I saw guys in the office. They were there all day. They were there for 12 hours, from 9 to 9 or 9 to 6 they were there, and I had to leave earlier. But like, what did they do with that time? You can go to the gym and you can be there for 2 hours. How many reps did you get? Like, I do more in 20 minutes at the gym than most people do in an hour. And I know you do. I know that you probably see people in there. Unless you go to like the best gyms, then you see people getting it. But if you go to like one of those regular like gyms, you know, like that are cheaper, you see a lot of people in there. They're even the expensive gyms. They're just in there. They're on their phone,
hanging out.
They're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, good place to hang out. But like, is that what you do every day? And if you're doing that once, are you doing it every day? Are you doing it every now and then? Why is today different than the other days? You know, like, is that a bad habit that needs to be changed? I don't think people naturally have bad habits. I think they have bad systems. So like, what is your system? Like, you have a really good system at the gym. So do you think that helps you? You're a systems guy. How do you do it? Now, I need you to tell me. So I've talked a lot. Like, I need to know the email systems, the organization systems, the gym systems. How?
Yeah.
Why?
System, structure, organization. And I learned this early in my career, the importance of organization, the importance of having structure. Because it's like having a file cabinet and nothing is labeled. And you have to go in that file cabinet and find a very important piece of paper. And you're like, I don't know where it's at because there's thousands of things in there. So it's the same thing with life, your career, your job, having structure, having the organization, and knowing like, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to do today. Having the structure of your battle plan that I like to talk about, that we like to talk about. The battle plan for your day. You know exactly what you're going to do the day of. Great. There's no mystery, right? And that's the same thing that being organized is going to do for you as well. When you're organized, you have your Google spreadsheet of all your clients. You're able to go back into there, find that client, figure out what's going on, what their monthly premium is, you know, how long they've been paying, whatever it might be. You're able to jump right into it. So the structure in the systems, right? There is a mathematical way of doing things. There's a right way and there's a wrong way.
That's right.
If you're not getting results, you're clearly putting the wrong data into this calculator that you have as a human being, and it's computating the wrong results. Like, you're not getting the right result.
There is that.
Yeah.
There's that. And then there's people that give up a little too soon.
Yeah. Oh,
So, like,
100%.
Think and Grow Rich, there's some nuggets there, but like 3 Feet from Gold was one of my favorite. The dude stopped digging for gold after putting everything he had into it for a long time. And then literally he's like, I've gone as far as I'm going to go. He was 3 feet
Yep.
from the gold vein in the mine. Somebody came in there, they took over, and they just were like, gold rush.
Yep.
Like, so for you,
The opportunity, it could be right around the corner.
right around the corner, you just have to push a little further, a little longer while tweaking your game. Because like in the beginning, man, the first month, that's why you can't say, I'm going to do this for 1 or 2 weeks. And you can't come into it doing it part-time, man. That's why people, like if you're out there and you forget about insurance, talk about success, talk about business, like nobody wants part-time people most of the time. Like, hey, maybe an admin task, maybe a landscaper, lawnmower, something like that. A lot of people don't like to hire full part-time employees because they know they're going to get a part-time effort. They're like, it's going to be inefficient. They're not going to be good at their job. It's the same thing with this. Like full-time, you need to go above and beyond to cut down the learning curve so you can make it. If you don't want to make it, work 30 hours, work 40 hours, just do the bare minimum, and you won't make it. If you want to guarantee your success, go 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Like, pound it down, man. Like, what are you willing to give up? Like,
And it's simple, right? It's simple. Look at what the successful are doing in the industry and just, hey, maybe double it. They're working 40 hours a week, double it to 80. And I like that point that you bring up about, the opportunity, the 3 feet from gold. That's one of my favorite ones as well. I always think about that. And that's like something that is glued into my mind. So anytime I'm running into something tough, I'm just like, man, just got to stick a little longer. The result's right there. The opportunity is right there. And here's the thing. I was going to mention this earlier. Your result that you get, you said 3 weeks, right? Every 3 weeks, right? Every 3 weeks. So sometimes you might not get results for a week or 2 weeks. But then that third week, bam, 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 bam.
yeah.
But you'll never know that if you don't stick in there. You'll never know that if you don't maintain the same energy, attitude, and viewpoint that you did on the first call that you're doing on 3 weeks into calls.
Yeah.
You won't be able to get there. And sometimes 3 weeks is going to pay, that result that you get on week 3 is going to pay for everything that you did, as you were saying, for those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough, right? We get it. It's tough to stay in there. It's tough to stick in there. It's tough to do things without seeing results. It's tough. Delayed gratification. No one likes it. I don't like it. Griffin, I'm sure you don't either. I want to work out and see some muscles. But it's not how the game of life works. It's not how it works. You got to stick in there. You got to get a little dirty. And you got to, ultimately for me, you got to see failure. Like, failure is right before the door to success.
True.
The door to opportunity, right? So you might be in the insurance field right now. You're an agent and you've been in there for a month, 2 months. Just keep going. Just keep going. Keep tweaking it. Keep duplicating the successful actions, tweaking whatever you think might need to be tweaked or adjusted, maybe adding some new things here and there, continually learning, sticking in the game. Results are bound to come. They're bound to come.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it off with this, but the world it's always testing you. The universe and the world, the marketplace is always testing your grit, your perseverance, your ability to stick in there, and your ability to be like, I don't care what's going on, I'm going to brute force my way through it. And that was another big turning factor of my career when I first got in during the first year. Things weren't going too well. upline wasn't showing much support. Sure, some of the viewers have had that experience. And I'm like, man, what do I do? What do I do? I'm talking to, a family member of mine, and, that's been through a lot. They have a lot of business acumen, right? You want to get advice and suggestions from trusted sources that have done what you want to do, right? So I was talking to him. He was like, just brute force your way through it. Just keep putting your head in there. Keep getting your feet wet. Keep getting dirty. Keep getting your hands dirty. Keep getting those cuts and those bruises, and keep getting knocked up. Because many people aren't doing this. Many people aren't doing this. And that's why, as it said, 90+% of agents fail.
Yeah.
And it's really not, it's not magic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like those guys stayed with it. Number one, you had to, because it took 36 months for us to get that figure. National Producer Insurance Registry, NIPR.com. Yeah, National Insurance Producer Registry. So they're the ones that track like who gets their license, who renews it, and yada, yada, yada. So those numbers come from there. Cody Askins started 8% Nation, because he wanted to revert the number. I don't know if it's gone down or not. Maybe it's 91% now, and we need to have a 9% Nation. Yeah. I don't know. But I just know that we're still here. It's been over 5 years for me. It's been longer than that, 6, 7, 8 years for you.
Yeah.
8 years.
Coming up on 8 years.
Which is crazy. But man, just like staying in the deal and doing drilling every day. So if you're really like, what can I actually do instead of just listen to you guys talk? Like take a person, record your voice, replay it. How do I sound? If you hate it, well, then that's something you need to get better at is like listening to yourself even though you hate the way you sound. Just, I don't necessarily like it. It's just something I need to do. It's just a task that needs to be done. Like the same way you brush your teeth. Just do it. And practice it in the morning with somebody, like role play it out, drill it out, and then listen to your call recordings if you can. Record your voice if you can. Like get some feedback from someone who's better than you, who's doing what you want, that's got the results that you want. Not just anybody, someone who's where you want to be. Those are a few little things you can do right now to like get better. Listening to the right stuff every day that's proven, that's work that not like, oh, maybe hopefully this will work. Like, no, like something that's proven, something that is successful. You can see it in the results, not by what people say, but by what people do. That's just a few things you can take away right now to go and apply, so that way you can make it. Like pull somebody, make them. Like maybe you don't get to role play, drag them over. Like, hey, I'm not interested. How would you handle it? They tell you how they would handle it. Repeat it 15 times. Like you just have some tools in your tool belt that you can use. And if you don't make it in the insurance industry, maybe you'll make it selling cars or selling something else if you still want to be in sales after this. Man, that's pretty much. You said something else that I wanted to touch on, but I'm sure if we don't remember, we'll catch it next time. Yeah,
there's a lot we went over. I want to end off with a quick little, rapid fire. What are some non-negotiables that you would have as an insurance agent brand new? And hey, you might even have them right now. And that's the thing. The basics still apply when you're in the industry 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. Those basics still apply no matter how long you've been doing something. So what are some of the non-negotiables?
Training every single day, personal development, things we didn't get in school. You have to unprogram the bad stuff and reprogram it with some of the good stuff. Training every day, role play for at least 15 minutes. It's not that much. It's painful. I don't even like to do it. I don't even like to talk about it. But role play, at least 15 minutes. It's being avoided. And if it's being avoided, like the stairs, the escalator and the stairs. If you are an able-bodied person and you can walk, and you see 50 people packed onto the escalator at the airport, I'm the guy taking the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you doing? I don't care if I have 200 pounds on my back or I'm carrying everyone's bags. I will take the damn stairs because I'm going to get there just as fast. I might as well do some work, right? That's non-negotiables. Training.
Role play.
Industry specific. You can't just listen to motivation. You got to listen to like, hey, I'm not interested. Well, of course you're uninterested. It makes sense. Like we just spoke. Do you even know why I'm calling? That's not the perfect thing to say, but at least it's something to say. It's probably better than what most people have to say in response to that, right? So, like, if you don't like what I said, then get your own. You know, like, get your own thing that you can say. It's going to be something. You got to have word tracks, hard questions written down. Like, hey, Miss Jones, you're 77. Why now? That's a question. Have it written down. Ask the question. Like a word track. Hey, this word track really helps me. Like, hey, if you can't score a touchdown, sometimes you just got to kick a field goal and get some points on the board. Anything you can get's better than what you have right now. Like that's a fact. I mean, everybody always wants more.
Yep.
So those are some non-negotiables. I mean, I say this, but I used to be better at it in my past life, was working out. Like, I worked out like it was a full-time job. Like, I'll show you what I looked like, but when you look at it, you're like, damn, you know, like, but that's cool. But are you putting your mind in a sales gym? Great on your body. You're not taking it with you when the body dies. Where are you going to go? What are you going to have with you when you go? And I believe it's the words you look up, like don't have misunderstood words. You're not going to hear this from 99% of anything you listen to out there because they want you to be dumb. They want you to be stupid. They don't want you to know. They want you to be uninformed. They try to use these words on the news. I've been catching them. Using this stuff on the news, they confuse people, but then they put enough drama in it to keep your attention. So then you're just like pissed off. You don't understand what's going on. And only the elite know what's actually going on. So misunderstood words, don't have them. Look them up in a dictionary. What's a dictionary? Why would I do that? Like just Google define the word on Oxford American. Then another one is working out at least 5 times a week, maybe 3 times. Eating right, don't eat fast food. Like, take care of yourself, take care of your body. Like, train every day. Script. Get a script. Make a script. Even if you make it your own and on your own. Like, have something consistent. This is kind of like from science class. Like, if you do something different every time, how will you ever know what didn't work? That was the biggest thing I learned in science ever. 7th grade. I remember specifically like the scientific method. Like you got to have a hypothesis. What does that mean? Like what is the theory? What are we trying to do here? That's what hypothesis is. But if you change it every time, you're going to get different results. But human beings are different, so that's why you have to role play the different things that. But eventually you'll have heard it all. So eventually, that's why I like telesales. I'm biased. You'll have heard it all. You'll have heard it all. You have to practice and get good at what you're hearing and be an expert at how you can handle it. And nothing will always work 100% of the time. So you just that's where the persistence and the consistency comes in, because you're not going to win every single battle. I'm sorry, I just don't know of a single person who's truly undefeated. You know, even Floyd Mayweather probably loses in practice. Probably has lost in practice. Probably don't know about it. Definitely has had some defeats in life. But, you know, that's my spiel. What are some non-negotiables
Those
for
are
you?
good non-negotiables.
Did I not touch on something you were going to say?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, tell me.
Yeah, role-playing, training. I would say tracking numbers. It was on the top of my head when you were talking about something earlier. I'm like, man, tracking numbers is so huge. And it's funny, I saw a memory on my Facebook of like my board. I used to keep a board, a whiteboard in my room at my house, and like day by day numbers, week by week numbers. Some people like, Google spreadsheet, that's fine. I like to see it, but as long as you're seeing it every single day. So tracking your numbers, always knowing that the results are in the work, right? Not shying away from the work, right? Yeah. Really loving the work. And that's something that, thankfully I was grown up with. I was grown up with doing the hard, gritty work, the work that doesn't want to be done, like you were talking about, doing things that you don't want to do.
Right.
Right? So always knowing that the results are in the work, surrounding yourself with the right people, hearing the right things, listening to the right things, as you mentioned as well, eating the right things, drinking the right things, keeping your mind as sharp as it can be. And hey, knowing that you're never too good to learn more. Knowing that you're never too good to learn more. Get more information, learn more data. And I would say duplicating the actions while implementing new things. Not reinventing the wheel from the beginning, most importantly, not reinventing the wheel. But as you found what works, continue to do that while let's try this, let's try that, let's see if I could, ask a quick question, have you heard enough to make a decision when you're like 10 minutes into the presentation? Hey, maybe it works. Right. Maybe it doesn't work, right? So duplicating while adding new things into it, and mainly just positive attitude. I'm really a basic fundamentals, right? Keeping those fundamentals in, right? Because as I said, you lose those fundamentals, the whole foundation just collapses, right? Sure. So positive communication, positive attitude, positive whatever you're bringing into to your content in your mind. Because whatever you bring into your mind is what you're going to say. What you say is what you do is results that you get, right? Brandon Dawson there.
That's right.
Man, training, as you said. Yeah.
Okay, let's name it off as in closing here.
Yeah.
In closing, I'm going to name 3 and you name 3. All right, mentors. I'm not going to take your number 1.
Yeah.
All right, so I like John Maxwell. I like Brandon Dawson. I like Natalie Dawson. I like, right now, I'm reading a Tim Ferriss book. I'm reading a Ray Dalio book. He's a billionaire. I've got several on Audible, right?
Didn't you say 3, Griffin?
I said at least 3. Okay. But I probably said, you're probably right. But go ahead, name off 3.
I'm just being funny. The reason I say that is because my viewpoint, and it's cool getting like different viewpoints, right? And I hope everyone has appreciated it. It's like me, I'm just like, man, I want to stick to 1, 2, maybe 3. I'm more like 1 or 2, and I'm even leaning more towards one specific person to dive deep into.
Agreed.
So you don't get all this conflicting data. But when you get to a point where you know like what your stable foundation is, you can learn more and more and more.
Totally.
Because that data, all the data you're getting, like it won't kind of conflict or cause you confusion, right? But in the beginning, picking one person, obviously for me, for everyone that knows me, Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone. Secondly, it would have to be an insurance specific like mentor, right? You're in the insurance field, as you spoke about earlier. You don't just want to be getting all this motivational training and information. You want specific insurance related training. Yeah. For me, when I was doing that deep dive in training when I wasn't getting results early in my career, was Dave Duford, which is like, oh, Dave Duford, right? It's like, oh, not some special big billionaire guy, but you can learn from anyone. It's really just picking and choosing, making sure it's the right data.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like going deep, going all in on one person before moving to a second one, like absorb all that information. Mm-hmm. Like for me, I'm picking up some nuggets right now. So like I studied Carnegie University time and time again. I'm not saying I'm like done with it or that I haven't picked up. I mean, there's more I can get, but for me, I'm like, okay, I'm using Jeremy Miner's like really good questions, like really good like fact-finding questions, like going deep in on that. And then you've got Andy Elliott's been bringing some fire, lately, just some good, fresh attitude, mindset, and fire. And then Grant, I've really noticed is kind of all in on the real estate and kind of he's in a different stage in his life, right?
Than he was before. Yeah.
So I kind of studied like the younger Grant back in like the sales days. Grant, his foundation, and then still like great data. But you learn at some point, like you have to ask really good questions. So I've been more obsessed with how I can achieve the result by getting the client to come up with the answer themselves, by walking them down the path, and that's using really good questions, not me preaching to you like I am right now. but the conversation would be a lot more of the client talking. And so that's kind of, I look for nuggets now. I'm looking for teamwork. Natalie Dawson.
Natalie Dawson, yep.
Nine-figure
Communication.
mindset. Nine-figure mindset.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the John Maxwell.
And so I'll give you my top three. Like I've been trying to pick up nuggets right now. Leadership and growth and team building. Studying billionaires. Elon Musk, Ray Dalio, Tony Robbins. They're billionaires. How do they get there? Organizationally, right? Company-wise. But in the sales days, if it was just sales, all day, Grant Cardone. But here's the top three. Here they are. Right now, for me, if I was you, I would number one, I would study Grant Cardone's sales material. I would go in on, if you're a leader, it's John Maxwell's Principles on Leadership. And then number three, I would have to say, I would actually just leave that one open right now. But I would say Jeremy Minor on his questions, like his ability to ask questions. Because if you could weave Grant and Jeremy together, I think Grant's sales training company is more successful than Jeremy Minor's. Jeremy Minor's also a lot younger, and maybe at the age he's at currently, he's better than Grant was when he was that age with his sales training company. Because I think Jeremy's company does about 34 million. So Grant was doing 34 million in 2017. Maybe not even that yet with his sales training. So that's all I got. Probably a good spot for me to, but, yeah.
See you guys next time.
All right. Good stuff. She's coming back.
Boom.
Done. No, it's all good. We're done.